So, hello. Thanks very much. I have the honor of being able to introduce Chris Schaffrey, the 52nd President of the SRS. And I'd like to thank Mahram Yaziki, who couldn't be with us this year because he's in Europe, who's our 51st President. He said that assembling an introduction for Chris last year with the handover was one of the most difficult parts of his presidency, to track down the information, and so he didn't want me to have to go through the same. But I think Chris doesn't really need an introduction. If you've done any reading in adult scoliosis in the last several years, you've read his articles or seen them referred to. He has an amazing number of publications, with nearly 600, and I'm sure that's probably increased by the time he gets to the stage here. And he has a very high H index of 94, and he is deputy editor of multiple journals. He's highly regarded in the leadership, both in neurosurgery as well as in spine, having served as the chairman of the joint section a few years ago, and is just a recent past president of the AANS. So with all of this publication and the leadership words that he has done, it's not surprising that we can find pictures of him like this, catching up on his sleep. No introduction of Dr. Schaffrey would be complete without mentioning his lovely wife, Katie, and his wonderful and talented children, as you see here. I will save a much longer introduction for when he is at the annual meeting next year, but with that, I'd like to present Chris Schaffrey, your president of the SRS. Thank you.
And when you really want to hear about someone spectacular, it'll be next year's presentation about Serena, who's really, really, really good. So what's happening is that I know a lot of people who are in the audience have some knowledge and are frequently members of the SRS. But there are a lot of people who don't. And what happens is that fortunately, I think that IMAST is a real opportunity for us to introduce the SRS to people who may not be fully engaged. And what happens is I do feel that the SRS has a unique position as a unifying force for the advancement of treatment with a variety of spinal abnormalities, in particular patients with spinal deformity. These are my different disclosures. I don't think any of them have any relevance to this talk. But the Scoliosis Research Society was founded in 1966 with 37 original members. It's maintained a commitment to do research and education in the field of spinal deformity. But what happens is spinal deformity touches on so many things, and that's why there was the forethought by my predecessors to form IMAST as an opportunity to learn across the entire spectrum of spinal surgery and spinal conditions, but to go and to sort of link it and cause relevance with attention towards spinal deformity. Its membership has been relatively strict because we want every individual fellow to support the commitment towards education and research. And the current membership, which I'm going to break down in detail in a couple of moments, is over 1,000 of the world's leading spine surgeons, researchers, physician's assistants, and orthotists who are involved in research in the treatment of spinal deformities. Now, one of the recent controversies has been the actual term spinal deformity. And what happens is that there are certain, particularly younger people who do not like the term deformed. And what's happening is we as physicians and SRS members, we're dealing with this entire spectrum of spinal conditions. And we've kind of racked our brains, collectively about, is there a better term that we can do all of these collective conditions under a single term? And I think that deformity means that the spine itself is deformed. And it's no different than having Blount's disease or something else where other portions of the body are routinely described as being deformed. And so what's happening is for some of the things we're trying to move in some cases, particularly with patient-facing parts of our website and activities to use the word spinal abnormality. I'm not sure if that's exactly better, but that's the direction that we're going. And one of the things that happens, and I think Dave Pauly termed that every spine surgeon is a deformity surgeon. Either you're correcting it or you're creating it, but one way or the other, every one of us is intimately involved with spinal deformity. And I think that it's very healthy for even people who do somewhat of a simpler practice, that they go and that they see some of these things. I mean, today's White Cloud presentations, what an amazing group of things that impact every one of us, from the simplest cases to the most complex, and it shows the power of what we do when we work together from a research perspective. One of the crown jewels of the SRS is the journal Spine Deformity, and again, it has a variety of different topics, and I think this is a venue that people should really think of when they're trying to go and to publish. You know, we're doing some different things to make the throughput of the journal a bit quicker and the review process a little less onerous for both the reviewers and for the people that are submitting, and I think it's going to go and continue to increase its impact. Now, one of the things, if you look at this original photograph of the 37 original members of the SRS, you see that there is one woman, and there's not a lot of diversity. You know, a lot of the people look like me, unfortunately, that are in that picture. And what we have made a focus on over the last particular 10 years is towards greater inclusiveness. We want everybody who has even the slightest interest in deformity to consider becoming an SRS member. And there are many, many pathways for everybody to advance themselves within the field. We want to increase our geographic footprint. You know, you're going to see that we are in a lot of different countries. I think currently 164, but some of the countries have only 1 or 2 members, and we'd like to have that increased. You're going to see that there's a real disparity in gender, that very few of our members are women, and we certainly want to increase that. And we want to go and increase the things that is not strictly an organization for orthopedic surgeons. We want neurosurgeons, we want researchers, we want rehabilitation medicine physicians. We'd like our APPs to all be engaged within the SRS. And I think that people will find it to be a very welcoming organization where there is a lot of ability to network and to be engaged with people. And you can see that in this picture of the current board, you can see that the diversity is changing both geographically and for the other metrics that we are trying to improve. In addition, this is probably, of me being in many, many organizations, the most talented board of people that you could ever encounter. So this shows we have about, by all categories, about 1,500 current SRS members. Right now, a little less than 10% of them are neurosurgeons. I think historically, people have been a bit intimidated by that process. For me, and as if people don't know, I trained in both neurosurgery and orthopedic surgery, and I know somewhat of the intimidation when I was first starting out, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to find it very welcoming, the group is, and I think that anybody who has any hint of, again, interest or thirst for knowledge or the desire to be a researcher and educator in the field of spine should really strongly consider joining the SRS. If we look here, this is probably still our biggest area of potential growth and improvement. Even over the last 2 years, we have slightly dented it, but we really want this to be not a male organization, and with Serena and with Laurel Blakemore entering the presidential line, and with Lori Carroll, who was very involved, I think that we're starting to crack that glass ceiling, and we want people to be engaged. I think that the SRS, at least historically, was thought to be a North American-focused organization, and we have made some real strides. And again, several of our recent past presidents, including Ken Chung and Maher Muzizi, some of our future presidents, Marinus de Kluver, and a number of other people that you've seen up on the stage are people that are going to be our future. One of the things is that we all have our biases. These are two different, like, TV surgeons. Generally, the neurosurgeon's thought to be the biggest jerk in the hospital, always there, and the orthopedic guy's usually, usually out there working out and driving around in his Ferrari. None of those things are actually 100% true. I wish that I could drive a Ferrari, but I can't fit in it, so we can't do that. There are many, many benefits of being an SRS member, including reduced registration fees and recognition, and being involved in the website, allowing patients to search for you. But what I'm going to tell you is that becoming an SRS member is not a difficult climb. And what's happening is this is the breakdown of members by country. And I'm just shocked. I travel the world and see different things, and there's places with so few of it. And the people that are international, who are here at this meeting, who are not SRS members, I would strongly encourage you to do so. And as you're going to see in a second, that it's not that hard, and you need an application document, you need a CV, and you need a letter of recommendation. And I will tell you, if anybody in this room wants to be a member and having a concern about the letter of recommendation, you just drop me an email, and I will personally write the letter of recommendation for you to become a member. So to do that. So what's happening is that this has been a difficult time, and I really thank all of you for coming out, for the fellowship and the networking that we can do. And one of the things that the SRS staff and leadership have done is such a great job of improving interconnectedness within the SRS and our members. And what's happened is the COVID pandemic has really just basically kind of decimated the world as far as our ability to get together and to meet and to share ideas and to communicate. And our SRS staff has just done an amazing job to be able to, first of all, put on virtual meetings for the last IMAST, and to have a hybrid meeting for our last SRS annual meeting. And I think that we're considering ways to continue some of these things that we've learned moving forward, to make it even for people that are having trouble with traveling, no matter what the world condition, to make it so that our educational content is available. These are our upcoming World War courses. These were on hold for a period of time due to COVID, but you can see we're going to be in Chile, we're going to be in Poland, we're going to be in Bordeaux, France, we're going to be in Singapore, we're going to be in Brazil, and we're going to be in China. And so our desire is to go and outreach, educate. And these different courses, many of them have a hands-on component. We'd like to be able to go and teach and engage people with the latest techniques in the best learning. This is a small sample of the different webinars, and just so you can see, it's not all complex deformity. There are things regarding MIS techniques. There's other webinars, and I encourage people to do it. This is something, a benefit of being an SRS member, is this every other week thing, the spinal column, which gives an amazing spectrum of news and opportunities and research things that you can be engaged with. One of the things which has been a goal, and particularly for a lot of our younger members, is how can we interact with each other? We see these big study groups. How is it that we can go and engage, and how can we benchmark how we're doing as an individual surgeon compared to our contemporaries throughout the world? So, considering I'm somewhat of a dummy, we put together this team of really, really smart people who are developing an app. And I was told by Ashton, my boss Ashton, that I need to downplay this a little bit. But this is the actual, the first look at it. And it's in black and white because they're testing the functionality. And it's our goal to have this app ready for at least beta testing in the Stockholm meeting. And what's going to happen, this app is going to be able to go and increase this interconnectiveness. You will get the news from what you see on the spinal column. You'll be able to enter patient data. Initially, it's going to be as a form of enhanced M&M. All of us kind of cringe when we get around March and we say, oh, your M&M is due. You're like, oh my goodness. But with this way, it's going to be able to do a couple clicks on the phone. And what it'll do eventually is to prompt you at, the day after a surgery, did your patient have a complication? What was it? 2 weeks after surgery, did the patient have a complication while in the hospital? And several months down the road, did the patient have an early complication? And by doing this, we hope this is the basis for the ability for people to have even a more enhanced app where you'll be able to put in more detailed data, including patient-reported outcome data, so that people can go and interact together across the world and do projects in a way that is really facilitated. And I want to thank Doug Burton and the rest of that team for really doing something that I think is going to transform the Scoliosis Research Society, and is going to be an individual reason why many of you are going to want to join to be able to use this type of an app. One of the things which I think is the ultimate educational experience, the SRS put a tremendous amount of time for this eye experience. And the first one was on early onset scoliosis, and it was led by Maher Mizizi. And I'm going to tell you, this is the absolute soup to nuts. The videos are great. The interoperative demonstrations are phenomenal. It's a feedback-based thing where they'll ask you questions. Hey, how would this patient best be positioned? Or is this patient that would be good for casting? Or is this person that needs surgery right away or delayed? And gives feedback at every step of the way. And this is the first of several of the programs. It is free, okay? You can't beat free, but even for the people who are involved in training, if you want to know anything and everything about early onset scoliosis, you should see this educational content. And we're open to future content based on subjects that our membership wants to see. So I would just ask everybody to go onto the SRS website and just open and look at this experience, okay? And I think you will find it to be absolutely transformative, and especially transformative to your trainees. And this is the description. And again, you see in the letters, it is free, okay? You can't beat free for something that is of this quality. So basically, we want to again make sure that we are absolutely inclusive. We want every specialty that has an interest in the field of spinal abnormalities and spinal deformity to join us. And one of the things that you'll see is, sometimes people say, "Oh my goodness, seeing these guys, seeing Chris Schaffrey and Ahmed Alaneh and whatnot, they're a scary group." Who isn't a scary group is the wonderful staff of the SRS who will go and make your journey towards membership a very easy and very, very pleasant process. And you'll see them here. And if anyone has a question about how to get started or whatnot, please talk to Ashton and again, her fabulous, fabulous staff. So the last thing is that, people say, well, deformity, it's kind of out there. If I'm not doing, kids with 120-degree kyphoscoliosis, why do I want to be an SRS member? And what I would say, it's part of this overall puzzle of taking care of spine-related patients. All of us see patients, no matter what our practice, with some component of spine deformity, and knowing how to best treat them and knowing how to interact with them, particularly in a meeting like IMAST, where you see the spectrum of things and how deformity fits in, is something that we want for everybody, and we want them engaged in moving towards optimizing their treatment of the patients. So this is my final slide. I said, we want you, apply now, okay? And I just wanted to go and take my opportunity as the SRS President to say, I really do not feel there is a better organization in medicine, and I've been involved in a lot of them, than the SRS. And I just think that by engaging everyone in this room as part of our membership, it's only going to further enhance it and make it better. So thank you for coming to Miami. I hope we're going to see you all in either Stockholm, Dublin, or both. And if there's something that I personally can do for any of you, you let me know. It's christopher.shaffrey@duke.edu. If you need something from me, like a letter, send me a note. If I can help you individually, let me know that as well. Thank you.